All right, craft show sales. So usually in my videos, it's tutorials, it's tips and tricks, and don't worry, this video will be tips and tricks for making a really cool product that sells super well at craft shows. Now, legit, it sells. I've sold this item in particular, makes at least $1,000 every year at a craft show, and I only do one craft show a year, 1 day craft show. It can make a lot more with volume. So without further ado, what is that item? That item is, and here you have it. Yes, it's ornaments. It's Christmas ornaments. This item, it is just a crazy moneymaker. Like I said, I do one show a year, usually around the holidays. I make a bunch of these different styles every year, and it's insane just how much traffic these get. And so lots of options. So this video, I'm going to talk about some really quick options for ornaments. There are a lot of ways to make these, right? I've made these a ton of different ways. Here are some of the ways I've made them in the past.
So first up, just with a bandsaw, this is a hobby bandsaw, a smaller one with a thinner scrolling blade. You can do some basic ornaments here, like this Christmas tree. Scroll saws allow you to do some more intricate cuts. I made hundreds of them this way. Pretty fun, you know, experimenting with different hardwoods and the different colors. It's a lot of fun. I can make some really cool ornaments. Like you can see here, all the different patterns, all the templates. Definitely possibilities, but certainly time consuming. But you get great results. And so here you can see lots of these styles, the early ones with the scroll saw. These are some other styles I made last year with MDF. And just, you know, you can see that color contrast. You can see here is actually a display I use at the craft show for hanging the things. So maybe a little tip right there from the get-go. But some possibilities, just some of the ways I have made them in the past.
All right, so obviously lots of ways to make ornaments, but all of these ones you see here, I made with the laser cutter. So this xtool P2 desktop CO2 laser is amazing. I've been messing around with this, all the possibilities. Obviously, I have the traditional tools and I can do them that way, but for efficiency and batching them out and some cool designs I couldn't do before, this machine is amazing. So the rest of this video, I'm just gonna walk you through some of these different styles, how you can make them, whether it's with xtool's, you know, big CO2 laser or even their diode laser. Some just really cool possibilities, just quick little tips and tricks along the way. Even if you don't have one, if you're kind of interested, still some good stuff in here for you. But here you have it, making some ornaments on a laser cutter.
So the first style we'll look at is this pre-finished hardwood plywood. Here, 5 different species. That's the natural color of that hardwood. It's about a 1/4 inch thick, some nice stuff. Links to where I found all these down below. This is just the 3mm unfinished. There's some babinga, some walnut, some thinner stuff that's unfinished. For this project, I really wanted to experiment with pre-finished to help with the soot and just time saving for cleanup later. So here you can see it engraves really well, fast, right? Obviously this is super sped up. Engraving does really well. This machine can engrave pretty fast. The cutting is insane. All that soot and char you see, that's just smoke residue, and that actually wipes off really easily because the wood's pre-finished. If it wasn't pre-finished, some sanding or some other ways to get rid of it. So it looks a little messy, a little dirty right here, but just some isopropyl alcohol cleans it up in no time. I will need to go back and add probably a little bit more finish on the end just to brighten it up a bit. But you know, lots of ways here. So plenty of options here. It's a cool design, kind of a classic look you see from a lot of lasers. But you get some really cool effects. I am just a fan of those hardwoods, those natural colors. And so there's definitely, you know, resources online to just buy pre-made sheets. You could use just a hardwood species, but that veneer works well. All right, another option is acrylic. Now, I'm primarily a woodworker with wood, but this machine can cut acrylic. The power of the CO2 laser can cut acrylic. What I'm doing here is this is just some double stick tape that I'm adding to the back of the acrylic. And this is gonna make glue ups later not be a glue up. So here's just some sheets. You know, got these little squares and they have that double stick tape on the back side. And then when I cut them, I just can put the piece on later. I don't have to worry about glue squeeze out and all of that. It makes things so much more efficient. So here you can see just testing out some different designs. I tried some engraving in the acrylic, and that's definitely a look that I'll probably experiment with more, but I just love the two-tone look of using two colors of acrylic and doing the cuts and just kind of having that contrast. Acrylic is great because you don't have to do any kind of painting. There's no prep work. It's obviously pricier, but there's lots of possibilities with acrylic. So many different colors and some really unique ones out there that I'm excited to try out. I found some great resources of acrylic. You can look at the links down below to see where I found that. Not sponsored, no affiliate link or anything like that, but some just great resources of some really cool ones. And it was pretty affordable shipping wise and all that good stuff. Anyway, it cuts. It cuts well. It's a cool look. It's different for me, right? Again, you can paint MDF or do that option, but the acrylic is a cool look, and this machine can handle it. Afterwards, there I'm just peeling off that double stick tape, and I can add everything where it's at. Most of the designs here, as I was just testing out, are some state logos, some different things. Most of the files I find on Etsy. The designs, obviously, you can find some free ones online. You can design your own as well, but there's some great ones on Etsy, and you can get some good results. So. I love those bears and mountains. You can see some of those and the Washington one. So acrylic is a cool option. You can also see here I added acrylic to some MDF. So you could mix and match acrylic with wood and other things if you're going for that effect to get a little pop of color or a little gloss. So it's a time saver again, efficiency. Okay, this next one is just using some 3mm basswood and then staining it to all these different colors. You could buy some of that, again, 3mm, Babinga walnut, but staining is an option, especially if you're going for that multi-tone layered look. So just whatever stain you have, I like having like 3 or 4 different colors. And so I kind of went with a light stain, a cherry stain, and then like a dark walnut stain, and then just the natural color of the basswood. So that gave me a lot of versatility and different colors. So after I stained it, I scuffed it just a little bit, sanded it. I'm adding some coats of just a lacquer, a clear coat here, just to help when I have to clean it up later, to minimize sanding for the char, all that kind of stuff. Here's more of that double stick tape. This is amazing, such a time saver. I forgot on a couple, and as much as I love CA glue, that squeeze out can be a little tricky. So when it comes to engraving this, you can get some great contrast. So again, you have the option of engraving, and on these I did add an engraving. I thought it looked kind of cool. But the cuts really make it. And so here can just get, find that SVG file online, and then you can cut it, and there's that double stick tape on the back. So the char that I have is just gonna go away because it's just gonna get glued down, but you just peel off that backer. Uh, gets a little tricky sometimes. Tweezers are your friends. Sharp nails help too, but it actually comes off pretty easily, and it is super sticky. So lots of different brands online. I found what I thought was the most affordable one online. Just cut it to size. You saw earlier with the paper cutter, that really helped. You don't want to have any overlap. You definitely don't want to have overlap, but here we go, and you just align it, and you get that two-tone look. This is a really popular look for lasers, doing the multiple layers. It's so cool. It is so cool. It is so cool. And this is definitely something you can't do without a laser. The CNC, I have a CNC, just the CNC, there's limitations for ornaments like this, and it's a lot of time to get set up, bit changes. And the great thing about the laser is, there's no sanding afterwards. It's done. So it's definitely a time saver if you're trying to batch these out, if you're like small business minded. Here's some MDF. So I didn't do as much with MDF here, but MDF is definitely a possibility. And here is some of that, stained wood on top of MDF. It's a good look. I like that look a lot. Earlier I showed that acrylic on top of the MDF for a different look. You could paint this, right? So primer and then just lots of coats of spray paint are a great option here. You can see all my cans of spray paint, all the color possibilities. So MDF is a lot more affordable. Just spray, and you're good to go. So some more options there. Continuing with the stained wood, I loved these layer effects. So again, found this file on Etsy. Just 4 layers of different, contrasting colors, and just adds a lot of depth, and just a really cool piece. Again, something that's really not possible without a laser cutter. And so it's efficient for all the other things I made in the past, but it also opens up new types of projects that couldn't be done before. You could, of course, engrave on the back, and you could customize these if you wanted to, sell them on a website, or of course for gifts and whatnot. But just a really cool look, lots of possibilities there. And this was just the stained wood. You could use hardwoods, or you could stain it. But cool effects here with the two tones, or the four tones. But using those different stain colors definitely helps. You could also do this with painted wood and have different colors there. I've seen that done as well. Okay, this is kind of where I started with the hardwoods. I am primarily a woodworker, so I have lots of scrap wood, lots of scraps, and this is just the best application for using that scrap wood to put it here. So if you're not a woodworker with a shop, stay tuned, stick around. Basically, I'm just using the table saw here. I'm just cutting everything to length. I do have another video on this whole process. If you want a slowed down full tutorial, you can check my videos to see the scrapwood ornament video. But I cut all the pieces. I got to get them nice and clean. Send them through the drum sander because they're so thin, and that way it's going to get a good glue up. Kind of playing around with the different patterns. For the ornaments, the more stripes, the better. I think it just adds a lot more contrast. It makes them look so much more cool. So lots of different patterns, just throwing down the glue. It's a simple glue up here, but because the material's so thin, I do recommend, if you're doing a lot of these, to do cauls, or just to really ensure you have a good alignment. So when you have to flatten it after the glue up, you don't lose too much material, and it's not too super thin. I kind of, went in a different direction with these than I first planned, but I think it turned out really cool. Just send it through the joiner to do a quick cleanup on one surface, and then I am ripping it on the bandsaw. My gosh, this guy has so many tools. Look at all these tools. Yeah. I know I didn't used to have all these tools. You can do a lot of this with minimal tools. Check that video, you can see it done. But I have some new tools for efficiency, and super happy to have them. But it's basically the same process. So now I have lots of cool blanks for some really cool ornaments. Lots of possibilities here with all the colors. All right, going ahead and sanding everything down ahead of time. I am going to add some finish beforehand. So pre-finishing materials just helps with the laser, especially if there's engraving or cutting. It's just, it's helpful in some situations. In this situation, since it's actual hardwood and I can dictate how thick the wood is, I probably didn't need to, because I could just sand it afterwards and I'm not going to lose a veneer because I'm making the thickness. Because these ended up thinner than I had first planned, I usually like to do 1/4 inch ornaments, or like 3/16 inch. Ornaments. Because these were so thin, I decided that I was going to make them into a thicker piece and just make them a veneer of sorts. It's just a thicker veneer. And so I'm adding that double stick tape again, and just adding it to some 1/4 inch plywood. So this is one option you can do to take that wood to make it that much thicker. Of course, how I've done most of my other ornaments like this, I just made it thick enough that I could have both sides, and as it's spinning on the tree, you see the colors from every direction, which is a cool look. But with this way, I am able to get a thicker ornament that I'm not worried about breaking. So it's a little bit thicker, right? You can see I got the thickness I want. And then the back, it's going to be blank, and I could engrave that, I could customize that, or it's just blank, which is fine. But that's an option, especially if you want to maximize material. All right, so cutting on the laser cutter. So you're going to have to mess around with settings here to get it how you want for the laser cutting. It certainly does take a little bit more because it's a thicker piece, more passes. I had some some smoke issues here, so it got a little too smoky. Had to swap out a filter. All good now, but it's a little smokier here, but it actually cuts quite well. Here you can see a little bit of the XCS software. You can really fit everything in there. The two cameras on this P2, the xtool P2, allows me to really zoom in and get accurate So every single spot of this really primo wood that I spent all this time on gets maximized. So I could add in some extra little orcas and extra little bears to make some magnets and maximize all that wood. If you're into earrings, if you're making earrings, that would be a great use for that space here. But anyway, it cut well. Had to do a couple passes on some of them. Again, that was the smoke issue, but it worked fine. It worked great. I was able to cut it out just fine. Just slowed down the speed and had to do a couple passes, and we were good to go. Of course, it depends on how thick your hardwood is, and I got some really, really hard, dense woods here that are a little bit, on the Jenka hardness scale, are a little bit harder. But here you can see those little magnets, right? So these are the little teeny tiny little pieces that I was able to get out. Also with that hardwood plywood earlier. This was one that I just did a little engraving. You can see from this ornament. So the same thing with those other ones. If you're doing those panels, maybe make some little magnets or some little charms or whatnot. But these ornaments turned out so great. And so I've made this style before, but I have never been able to get the intricate, like the reindeer antlers or the feathers of an eagle. And so much more detail, so precision. Again, you could engrave the back if you wanted to, and it just cleans up so nice. And there's not sanding. There really isn't much sanding at all. Whereas with the other ones, I'd have to sand in between all those nooks and crannies, and that took forever. But these ornaments were super fun. So many possibilities. I just loved. I do have to add some more finish on a couple of those. I scuffed them a little bit more, but it's really just testing out the possibilities with this laser. Just massive time savings and just so many possibilities.
Okay, so that is just some of the many possibilities for ornaments for different styles and designs. These do sell really well, especially at craft shows in person. It's an easy purchase for people. Maybe they're not going to buy one of your big inlaid end grain cutting boards, but an ornament is quick. You can price it out. They're great sellers, and they're just fun. I like to add like a little burlap case, other things, and it's actually quite an honor for people to get an ornament to think each year it goes up on their tree. So lots of fun ornament styles here. But while we're talking about sales at a craft show and efficiency with the laser, my last video talked about a lot of the other possibilities. This machine can do curved surface engraving, so you can do tumblers, you can do spoons, rolling pins. Another great option is just, get a pre-made board. It's hard for me as a woodworker who makes the stuff. You can get some cheaper pre-made boards and then just engrave it. Here we got Santa cookies and whatnot, and then they can use the other side. I can go different style here where milk cookies, reindeer treats, and then, you got a cheese board on the other side. Just some quick, easy items where, if you don't make the board, you can sell it a lot less than if you, say, made the board. But lots of other possibilities with the laser. You can check out the other videos to see some ideas, or you can check out my Instagram. And there you have it. So, if this video provided any kind of value for you, if you want to see more videos like this, please consider subscribing to see more videos like this. If you're interested in the tool, there is links down below for information about this machine as well as other ones that xtool makes. Yes, they did send me this unit in exchange for videos, but you can check out the information down below. All of the materials I used, all of this links down below. Quite a few of these products I ordered just from Amazon. I do have an affiliate link, and then there's some other ones where no affiliate link, just the best deal I found on materials, specifically that acrylic and the pre-finished wood, the plywood. Some great deals, best stuff that I found from my research. So anyway, lots of stuff down below. Check it if so interested. Happy making, and until next time, take care.